in which an affair unfolds, and we see the damage wrought upon the scorned. Chapter 17. Stepan Arkadyevich came upstairs, his pocket bulging with the banknotes that the merchant had given him for 3 months ahead. The business with the wood was concluded. The money was in his pocket, the fowling had been splendid, and Stepan Arkadyevich was in the merriest spirits, and therefore he especially wanted to dispel the bad mood that had come over Levin. He wanted to end the day over supper as pleasantly as it had begun. Indeed, Levin was out of sorts, and in spite of all his desire to be gentle and amiable with his dear guest, he could not master himself. The intoxication of the news that Kitty was not married had begun to affect him. Kitty was unmarried, and ill from love for a man who had scorned her. This insult seemed to fall upon him. Vronsky had scorned her, and she had scorned him, Levin. Consequently, Vronsky had the right to despise Levin, and was therefore his enemy. But Levin did not think all that. He vaguely felt that there was something insulting to him in it, and now was not angry at what had upset him, but was finding fault with everything he came across. The stupid sale of the wood, the swindle Oblonsky had fallen to, for which had taken place in his own house, annoyed him. "Well, so it's concluded," he said, meeting Stepan Arkadyevich upstairs. "Want to have supper?" "Yes, I won't refuse. What an appetite I have in the country. It's a wonder. Why didn't you offer Ryabinin a bite to eat?" "Ah, devil take him." "How you treat him, though," said Oblonsky. "You didn't shake hands with him. Why not shake hands with him?" "Because I don't shake hands with my footman, and my footman is 100 times better." "What a reactionary you are, though. What about the merging of the classes?" said Oblonsky. "Whoever likes merging is welcome to it. I find it disgusting." "I see. You're decidedly reactionary." "Really, I've never thought about what I am. I'm Konstantin Levin, nothing more." "And a Konstantin Levin who is badly out of sorts," said Stepan Arkadyevich, smiling. "Yes, I'm out of sorts. And do you know why? Because of, forgive me, your stupid sale." Stepan Arkadyevich winced good-naturedly, like a man hurt and upset without cause. "Well, come now," he said. "When did it ever happen that somebody sold something without being told right after the sale it was worth a lot more? But while it's for sale, no one offers. No, I see you have a bone to pick with this unfortunate Ryabinin." "Maybe I do. And do you know why? You'll say again that I'm a reactionary, or some other dreadful word like that, but all the same it's vexing and upsetting for me to see on all sides this impoverishment of the nobility to which I belong, and, despite the merging of the classes, am glad to belong. And impoverishment not owing to luxury, that would be nothing. To live with largesse is a nobleman's business, which only noblemen know how to do. Now muzhiks are buying up the land around us. That doesn't upset me. The squire does nothing, the muzhik works and pushes out the idle man. It ought to be so. and I'm very glad for the music, but it upsets me to see this impoverishment as a result of, I don't know what to call it, innocence. Here, a Polish tenant buys a beautiful estate at half price from a lady who lives in Nice. Here, land worth 10 rubles an acre is leased to a merchant for 1. Here you gave that cheat a gift of 30,000 for no reason at all. What then? Count every tree? Certainly count them. You didn't count them, but Ryabinin did. Ryabinin's children will have the means to live and be educated, and yours may not. Well, excuse me, but there's something petty in this counting. We have our occupations, they have theirs, and they need profits. Well, anyhow, the deal's concluded, and there's an end to it. And here are the fried eggs, my favorite way of doing them, and Agafya Mikhailovna will give us that wonderful herb liqueur. Stepan Arkadyevitch sat down at the table and began joking with Agafya Mikhailovna, assuring her that he had not eaten such a dinner or supper for a long time. You praise it, at least, said Agafya Mikhailovna, but Konstantin Dmitrich, whatever you serve him, even a crust of bread, he just eats it and walks out. Hard as Levin tried to master himself, he was gloomy and silent. He had to ask Stepan Arkadyevitch one question, but he could not resolve to ask it, and could not find either the form or the moment. Stepan Arkadyevitch had already gone to his room downstairs, undressed, washed again, put on his goffered nightshirt, and got into bed, but Levin still lingered in his room, talking about various trifles, and could not bring himself to ask what he wanted to ask. How amazingly they made soap, he said, examining and unwrapping a fragrant cake of soap that Agafya Mikhailovna had put out for the guest, but that Oblonsky had not used. Just look, it's a work of art. Yes, all sorts of improvements have been made in everything, said Stepan Arkadyevitch, with a moist and blissful yawn. The theaters, for instance, and these amusements. Ah, he yawned. Electric light everywhere. Ah. Yes, electric light, said Levin. Yes, well, and where's Vronsky now? He said, suddenly putting down the soap. Vronsky? Asked Stepan Arkadyevitch, suppressing a yawn. He's in Petersburg. He left soon after you did and hasn't come to Moscow once since then. And you know, Kostya, I'll tell you the truth, he continued, leaning his elbow on the table and resting on his hand his handsome, ruddy face, from which 2 unctuous, kindly, and sleepy eyes shone like stars. It was your own fault. You got frightened by your arrival, and as I told you then, I don't know which side had the greater chances. Why didn't you just push right through? I told you then that... He yawned with his jaws only, not opening his mouth. Does he know I proposed, or doesn't he? Thought Levin, looking at him. Yes, there's something sly and diplomatic in his face, and feeling himself blushing, he silently looked straight into Stepan Arkadyevitch's eyes. If there was anything on her part then, it's that she was carried away by externals, Oblonsky continued. That perfect aristocratism, you know, and the future position in society affected not her, but her mother. Levin frowned. The offense of the refusal he had gone through burned his heart like a fresh, just-received wound. He was at home, and at home even the walls help. Wait, he began, interrupting Oblonsky. Aristocratism, you say? But allow me to ask, what makes up this aristocratism of Vronsky, or whoever else it may be, such aristocratism that I can be scorned? You consider Vronsky an aristocrat, but I don't. A man whose father crept out of nothing by wiliness, whose mother, God knows who she didn't have liaisons with. No, Excuse me, but I consider myself an aristocrat, and people like myself, who can point to 3 or 4 honest generations of their families past, who had a high degree of education, talent and intelligence are another thing, and who never lowered themselves before anyone, never depended on anyone, as my father lived, and my grandfather, and I know many like that. You find it mean that I count the trees in the forest. Well, you give away 30,000 to Ryabanen, but you'll have rent coming in, and I don't know what else. Well, I won't, and so I value what I've inherited and worked for. We're the aristocrats, and not someone who could only exist on handouts from the mighty of this world, and can be bought for 20 kopecks. But who are you attacking? I agree with you, Stepan Arkadyevich said sincerely and cheerfully, though he felt that Levin included him among those who could be bought for 20 kopecks. He sincerely liked Levin's animation. Who are you attacking? Though much of what you say about Vronsky is untrue, that's not what I'm talking about. I'll tell you straight out. If I were you, I'd go with me to Moscow and... No, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, and it makes no difference to me, but I'll tell you, I made a proposal and received a refusal, and for me, Katerina Alexandrovna, is now a painful and humiliating memory. Why? That's nonsense. Let's not talk about it. Forgive me, please, if I was rude to you, said Levin. Now, having said everything, he became again the way he had been in the morning. You're not angry with me, Stiva. Please don't be angry, he said, and smiling, took him by the hand. No, not in the least, and there's no reason. I'm glad we had a talk. And you know morning shooting can be good. Why don't we go? I won't even sleep. I'll go straight from shooting to the station. Splendid. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.